Hey guys, I'm gonna go through some notes with you today. So make sure that you have your notes pulled up on Google Classroom. It's the 2020 regular preterite notes. So before we start, you should just know that the word preterite is just a fancy grammatical term for something that is finished in the past tense. So it says, in Spanish, the preterite is the name of verbs and events in past. It is used for events, completed actions, and interrupting actions. So here we have a question that says, how does one form regular verbs in the preterite? So we have a little verb chart here, and there are three kinds of verbs in Spanish, as most of you know. Verbs that end in AR, like hablar, verbs that end in ER, like comer, and verbs that end in IR, like salir. So to form these verbs into past tense for each subject, like me, you, he, she, we, and they, what we need to do is we need to take off that original ending, the AR, ER, and IR, and replace it with something else. So let's do AR verbs first. So in order to make the verb hablar, which means to speak, I spoke, which is past tense, we would take off the AR and replace it with the letter E with an accent over it and get hablé. The to form, you spoke, is hablaste. The he, she form is habló with an accent. The nosotros form is hablamos. The he, she, the they and you all form is hablaron. So we have hablé, hablaste, habló, hablamos, hablaron, and that means I spoke, you spoke, he, she, or you formal spoke, we spoke, and they spoke, or you all spoke. Okay, now we're going to do the ER verbs. So our example verb is comer, which is to eat. And so we take off the ER and we replace it with the following. Comí is I ate, and it's an I with an accent. You ate is comiste. He or she ate is comió. C-O-M-I-O with an accent. We ate is comimos, and they ate is, or you all ate is comieron. Now what's nice about ER and IR verbs in past tense is that the endings are the exact same. So if we look at the verb salir, which is to leave, we take off the IR endings and we can pretty much just copy the endings we just did for comer. So salí is I left. Saliste is you left. Salí with an accent is he, she, or you formal left. Salimos would be we left, and then salieron, lost my formatting there. Salieron is they or you all left. So these are our endings for regular verbs. What I mean by regular is that it follows the rule. And that rule is you take off the ending and replace it with the endings that we just put in here. So now let's practice a little bit. There are 8 practice sentences. So the first one says he grabbed the book, and the verb for grab is agarrar. So he, él, grabbed. And so it's an AR verb, so I can follow the model that we did with hablar, and it's he. So if I look in our little chart here, he, and then the ending is an O. So now I do agarrar was the verb, take off AR and replace it with O. Él agarró el libro. I used the soap. Okay, so yo, and then our verb is usar, which is another AR verb, and the ending for that is an E with an accent. So you take usar, take off the ending, and replace it with that. Y with an accent, use. And then soap is el jabón. I don't know if you guys know that word or not. They fought for 3 hours. So there's 2 verbs for fight that I think we've learned this year, and I can do both. They're both AR verbs, pelear and luchar. So ellos, and then if we look at our verb chart, they is going to be this one, and the ending is ARON. So pelearon or lucharon por 3 horas. You threw my sandwich, another AR verb, so tirar, and it's the 2 form. So we look up here, our ending is ASTE. Tú, so you take your verb again, tirar, take off the ending, and replace it with the new one, aste. Tú tiraste mi, there's a couple ways you can say sandwich. If you're in Spain, you would say bocadillo. Or if you were in Latin America, it's just sandwich. All right, now we have an ER verb. Why did they run? So, correr is ER. Let's look at our ER example was comer, and it's they. So if we look over here, oops, comieron was the example. So I know that my ending I need here is ieron. Porque ellos corrieron. Why did they run? We wrote our teacher an email in Spanish. Okay, so escribir is an IR verb, and our endings for IR up here is imos. So nosotros escribimos un correo electrónico a nuestra maestra. We wrote an email to our teacher in Español. I opened my laptop. So abrir is an IR verb. And if we look at our chart here, the ending is an I with an accent on it. So, yo abrí mi portátil or computadora. And then he spoke Spanish in his video. So we're back to an AR verb here, and it's he, and we've got the answer right here. Él habló español en su video. And that's it. So again, these are regular verbs. You'll notice some of the verbs that we learned in our stories so far are going to match up with this. If you think back to our stories about the history of Mexico and how those verbs looked, you'll notice that you've been doing this for a while now, but we just haven't really spelled it out for you yet. So we're going to be doing another video soon about irregular verbs. That's verbs that don't necessarily follow this rule. They kind of have their own way of forming the new verbs. And then I'm going to give you some opportunities to practice. Feel free to email me if you have any questions.